When was the last time you truly heard your own voice, without the noise of opinions, expectations, or judgment drowning it out? We're surrounded by noise every second of the day. People telling you who you should be, how you should act, what you should want. Social media screams for attention. Friends expect explanations. Strangers form opinions before they know your name. And in the middle of all this, your own voice, your real thoughts, your true feelings, gets buried beneath the weight of the world's opinions. It's exhausting, isn't it? Feeling like you always need to respond. Feeling like you have to keep up, like you can't afford to pause, or people will think you're falling behind. But here's the truth no one tells you. Silence isn't weakness. Silence is survival. It's how you reconnect with your power. Because when you're constantly reacting, constantly explaining, constantly proving, you stop growing. You start living through the expectations of others instead of becoming who you were born to be. You stop focusing on your path because you're too busy watching everyone else walk theirs. This noise, it's designed to distract you, to keep you chasing validation, to keep you seeking permission to be yourself. And if you're not careful, it'll take your dreams and turn them into compromises. It'll take your voice and replace it with echoes of opinions that were never yours to begin with. But the moment you choose silence, something shifts. You start hearing the thoughts that matter. You begin noticing what drains you. You realize that not everything deserves your energy, that you don't need to explain your goals, your decisions, or your evolution to anyone. You just need to listen to yourself. Because that voice, the quiet one inside you, it knows exactly where you're supposed to go. But it can't guide you if you keep turning up the volume on everything and everyone else. If you've been feeling lost, overwhelmed, disconnected, it's not because you're broken. It's because you've been listening to too many voices that don't belong to you. This is your chance to take back control, to shut out the noise, to turn your attention inward, to stop talking, stop reacting, and just observe. Because in the stillness, you'll start to rebuild, not for attention, not for applause, but for growth, real, unstoppable growth. And if you stay with this message, if you keep going, what you'll find isn't just motivation, it's a path. A way forward that's quiet, powerful, and yours alone. A way to finally stop living for the world and start living for yourself. That's the reward. The peace you've been chasing, it's waiting in your silence. And the focus you've been missing, it's already inside you, buried beneath the noise. All you have to do is pause long enough to hear it. So stay with this. Your silence is not the absence of strength, it's the beginning of it. Silence doesn't just clear the noise, it reveals the truth. And when the truth shows up, it demands one thing from you: ownership. No more blaming the world, no more waiting for the right time, no more hiding behind distractions. In the quiet, the mask falls off. You see the parts of yourself you've been avoiding, the broken habits, the procrastinated dreams, the pain you've buried beneath busyness. But that's not something to fear, that's your power returning. Because once you see clearly, you can no longer lie to yourself. And when you stop lying to yourself, you become unstoppable. You start realizing that growth is not about saying more, it's about doing more, silently. It's about making peace with the idea that most people won't understand your journey, and that's okay. Because you're not here to be understood, you're here to become, to evolve, to elevate beyond what the world expects from you. And that process isn't loud, it doesn't need to be. Power doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers, sometimes it walks away. Sometimes it says nothing at all, and still changes everything. Think about it. The most dangerous person in the room is never the loudest. It's the one who's observing, learning, building in silence. The one who's so focused on growth, they don't have time to explain themselves. That's the level of discipline most people never reach, because they're addicted to being seen, addicted to proving themselves. But validation is a trap. It feeds your ego and starves your soul. It convinces you that attention equals worth. But real worth? It comes when you no longer need to be seen to believe in your own value. That shift happens in silence, when you stop announcing your every move, when you stop performing, when you stop looking sideways and start looking inward. And in that space you become something most people never dare to be: authentic, not polished, not perfect, just real, grounded, focused, free. Because when you stop talking, you start acting. When you stop chasing, you start creating. And when you stop explaining, you start becoming. The world has taught you that if you're quiet, you'll be forgotten. But the truth is, when you're quiet, you're remembered differently. Because silence makes people wonder. It creates mystery. It commands respect. But more than anything, it gives you the room to grow without the pressure of performance. It gives you space to fall and rise again, without judgment, without noise. And that's when your evolution becomes dangerous. Not because it's loud, but because it's real. Because it was built in darkness, in discipline, in the kind of silence most people are too afraid to sit in. But not you. You're here now, ready to rise not by speaking louder, but by becoming greater. This is your edge. This is your moment. Focus on yourself, stay silent, and let your results shake the world. The need to be seen can become a prison. It convinces you that every move must be shared, every win must be posted, every thought must be explained. But real growth doesn't need to be broadcast. It thrives in silence, because silence keeps you aligned with your purpose, not distracted by performance. When you stop announcing your progress, you begin to protect it. You stop inviting opinions that never mattered. You stop letting outsiders write your story. And most of all, you stop handing over your power for a few moments of empty praise. There is a reason why the greatest transformations happen in private. Because the world can't touch what it can't see. When you keep your moves quiet, you're no longer working to impress. You're working to improve. You're no longer building for approval. You're building for truth. That shift in intention rewires everything. It strengthens your discipline. It sharpens your focus. It forces you to deal with who you really are when no one's watching. And that's where the real change begins. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows, where only you know the battle you're fighting. Every time you stay silent, you regain a piece of your energy. Every time you choose not to explain yourself, you reclaim your freedom. You don't owe the world access to your process. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your focus, your boundaries, your distance. What you owe is to yourself, the chance to become without distraction, to grow without noise, to rise without interruption. That kind of self-respect is rare. That kind of control is power. Because the more you focus on yourself, the more you realize how much of your potential has been wasted on things that don't matter. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to defend every decision. You don't need to respond to every opinion. Your life is not a debate. It's a mission. And missions require silence. Missions require clarity. Missions require that you stop leaking energy in places that don't lead to purpose. Every conversation you avoid, every drama you ignore, every distraction you reject, that's fuel being redirected into your vision. That's power being reclaimed. People will misunderstand you. Let them. People will talk. Let them. The more silent you become, the more they will project. But none of that matters, because silence is not about their confusion. It's about your clarity. It's about knowing who you are so deeply that nothing outside of you can shake it. That is where unshakable confidence is born. Not from the noise, but from the decision to rise in peace. This is your time to stop performing and start building. Not for likes, not for approval, not for applause, but for legacy, for freedom. For the kind of life that doesn't need to be explained, it only needs to be lived. Focus on yourself. Stay silent. And let your discipline speak louder than words ever could. When you begin to focus fully on yourself, you start seeing how much energy you've been giving away. Not just in actions, but in thoughts, in worry, in overthinking what others might think, say, or feel about your decisions. That invisible weight you've been carrying, the one that makes you second guess, hesitate, or shrink yourself. It's not yours. It's the weight of people you've been trying to please. It's the noise of opinions you never asked for but absorbed anyway. And now it's time to drop it. Completely. Because focus is not just about what you do. It's about what you stop doing. It's the discipline to cut out the conversations that go nowhere. The strength to walk away from situations that no longer match your vision. The maturity to stop explaining your silence and simply live in it. That's not cold. That's clarity. And clarity is a gift only a few ever give themselves. Because it requires honesty. The kind of honesty that tells you, I've been wasting too much time on things that aren't building me. You start to see it everywhere. The mental leaks. The hours spent watching lives that don't inspire you. The energy drained trying to fix what was never your responsibility. The focus lost scrolling through highlight reels while your own life waits in the background. When you finally zoom out, you realize the truth. You've been holding yourself back by staying connected to distractions. Not because you're weak, but because you forgot how powerful your attention really is. Whatever you give energy to grows. If you feed fear, it expands. If you feed noise, it gets louder. But when you feed focus, when you channel everything into your growth, your mind sharpens, your confidence returns, your path clears. Suddenly, you're not watching life happen. You're building it, brick by brick, in silence, in solitude, without needing validation from anyone. That's how strength is developed. through consistency in quiet places. You are not here to keep up with others. You are here to master yourself, to build habits so strong they operate even when motivation fades, to create a foundation so solid that outside noise becomes irrelevant. This level of focus demands sacrifice. It demands that you stop entertaining what doesn't elevate you, that you stop revisiting what broke you, that you stop waiting for support and start backing yourself, fully, fearlessly. Let others chase attention. Let them waste their time proving who they are. You have something different. You have direction. And when you have direction, silence is a weapon. It keeps you locked in. It protects your momentum. It preserves your peace. Because your greatest breakthroughs won't be announced. They will be earned, quietly, relentlessly, day by day. Focus is the new luxury. Protect it, live it, master it. And when you do, you'll realize that everything you've ever wanted was always within reach, the moment you stop being available to anything that didn't help you grow. Stay silent, stay focused, and let your evolution become undeniable. Most people never change because they're too distracted to notice how much they need to. They stay busy, they stay loud, they stay surrounded by opinions that keep them exactly where they are. But silence forces awareness. It strips away the distractions and leaves you face to face with your reality. No filters, no excuses, just truth. And truth is uncomfortable, but necessary. Because until you admit where you really are, you can't get to where you want to be. You can't grow from a place you're pretending doesn't exist. When you go silent, the noise around you doesn't stop. It just stops mattering. You begin to see how much of your life has been built on reaction. Reacting to pressure, reacting to fear, reacting to other people's energy instead of creating your own. But silence breaks the pattern. It interrupts the loop. It gives you a moment to stop reacting and start responding. With intention, not emotion. That single shift changes everything. Because when you stop running on autopilot and start living with awareness, you take back control. You start asking better questions. Not what do they think of me, but what do I think of myself? Not why haven't they supported me, but why am I still waiting? The silence gives space for those answers, and those answers wake you up. They remind you that you are not here to be available for every distraction. You are not here to constantly explain your worth. You are here to build, to evolve, to become the version of yourself that doesn't chase energy, but generates it. It's easy to fall into noise, easy to vent, to argue, to prove, but easy doesn't change your life. Silence does. Because silence demands that you deal with your own voice. That voice, the one you keep ignoring, it holds every answer you need. It knows what you're avoiding. It knows what you're capable of. And if you'd stop drowning it in distractions, you'd finally hear the truth you've been waiting for. The truth that says, it's time. Time to stop repeating cycles that never serve you. Time to stop leaking energy into situations that drain you. Time to stop asking for permission to grow. Because no one will ever give it to you. You have to take it. You have to claim it by focusing so deeply on yourself that everything else becomes background noise. That's not selfish. It's necessary. Because your peace, your progress, your potential, those are your responsibilities. And you can't fulfill them by staying available to everything that isn't aligned. Silence is not just the absence of noise. It's the presence of power. Power that sharpens your mind. Power that protects your mission. Power that separates you from the chaos and connects you to your purpose. The louder the world gets, the more valuable your silence becomes. Use it, own it, and let it guide you toward the life that was always meant to be yours. Focus on yourself. Stay silent. Let your growth be your voice. Unusual activity has been detected from your device. Try again later. 96A5, E684,700, and 93D8815BE, or every time you focus inward, you take one step closer to becoming who you were meant to be. Not the version others expect, not the version shaped by comparison or fear, but the real you, the one buried under years of noise, pressure, and distraction. That version of you doesn't need to explain or prove. It just needs space. Space to grow. Space to breathe. Space to unfold without the weight of constant eyes watching, judging, commenting. Growth is not a performance. It's a process. And real processes take time, take pain, take isolation. But they also lead to transformation. You have to be willing to disappear for a while. Not physically, but mentally, emotionally, socially. Pull back from everything that pulls you away from yourself. Let go of the need to respond. Let go of the desire to be understood. Most won't understand, and that's okay. They're not supposed to. Your journey is yours. It's personal. It's sacred. And not everyone deserves access to it. You don't need to make announcements. You don't need to share your every move. You just need to move, quietly, intentionally, powerfully. When you stay silent, you protect your direction. You're no longer influenced by claps or criticism. You're no longer seeking noise to validate your worth. You start seeing the difference between momentum and distraction. You stop mistaking activity for progress. And that's when your life begins to shift. Not because you did more, but because you finally stopped giving yourself away to things that don't grow you. Silence teaches you patience. It teaches you how to sit with the uncomfortable, how to listen without reacting, how to move without announcing. It forces you to become your own source of motivation, your own source of peace, your own source of validation. That kind of self-sufficiency makes you dangerous, in the best way. Because now, nothing outside of you controls what happens inside. You become unshakable. You become calm in chaos. You become focused when others fold. That's the power of stillness. That's what happens when you stop running from your own voice and start trusting it. People will notice the change. They'll feel your distance. They'll sense your focus. And they won't know how to respond. That's not your concern. You're not here to be available. You're here to be aligned. Aligned with your goals. Aligned with your peace. Aligned with your future. That alignment costs distractions. It costs comfort. But it buys you clarity. And clarity is everything. With it, your steps become sharper. Your time becomes sacred. Your energy becomes priceless. Don't trade your growth for temporary attention. Don't shrink yourself to fit places you've outgrown. And don't let the noise pull you back into cycles that kept you small. You've tasted silence now. You've felt the focus it brings. Let that be your new standard. Stay consistent. Stay locked in. You're not just improving, you're becoming. Quietly. Powerfully. Relentlessly. Focus on yourself. Stay silent. And let the world adjust to the new you. The moment you stop needing the world's approval is the moment you start reclaiming your life. You realize you don't have to be available to everyone's questions, everyone's doubts, everyone's confusion about your silence. You're not here to be understood by people who've never taken the time to understand themselves. You're not here to slow down your growth so others can feel comfortable. Growth is not something you owe anyone. It's something you owe yourself. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing, explain nothing, and just keep going. You were not created to stay stuck in conversations that drain you. You are not meant to spend your days responding to noise that offers no value. Your energy is sacred. Your mind is your territory. Protect it. Stop giving people permission to enter it every time they want your attention. Not every message deserves a reply. Not every opinion deserves a reaction. Silence isn't ignoring. It's choosing peace. It's choosing progress. It's choosing your mission over meaningless noise. There will always be people who question your silence. Let them. Let them wonder why you've pulled back, why you've changed, why you no longer engage. That wondering creates distance, and distance is where transformation happens. In the silence, you become untouchable, not because you're hiding, but because you're healing, because you're building a foundation that doesn't crumble under pressure, doesn't shake when criticized, and doesn't collapse when ignored. That kind of strength doesn't need to be explained. It needs to be lived. You don't have to respond to the world to prove you're alive. You don't need to post your progress to prove you're growing. Real elevation doesn't come with announcements. It comes with action. Consistent, focused, disciplined action, without the need for recognition. The need to be seen is a distraction. The need to be validated is a weakness. But the ability to move in silence, that's control. That's self-respect. That's how legacies are built. Unseen, uninterrupted, unstoppable. People will try to pull you back into old versions of yourself. Not because they want to help you, but because your growth threatens their comfort. Don't go back. Don't shrink to fit the place you outgrew. Don't lower your volume just because others can't handle your silence. You're not being distant. You're being deliberate. You're not being cold. You're being careful with your energy, your time, your peace. That's what focus looks like. That's what elevation requires. Stay grounded in your reason. Stay committed to your silence. You're not missing out on anything by walking alone. You're gaining everything by walking inward. This season of silence is not punishment. It's preparation. It's the space where your power matures, where your mind clears, where your next level is built, brick by brick, decision by decision, in silence, in strength, in solitude. Focus on yourself. Stay silent. Let your progress speak volumes the world never saw coming. There's a different kind of power that comes when you stop seeking to be seen and start choosing to be still. When your focus turns fully inward, you begin to unlock parts of yourself that the noise of the world kept buried. The potential that was always there, waiting behind distractions. waiting behind doubt, waiting behind the need to be everything for everyone. When you finally stop performing, when you finally stop explaining, you create the space to evolve, and that space is where everything changes. Silence gives you access to your truth, not the one shaped by public image, but the one shaped by your soul. The version of you that doesn't need applause to keep moving forward. The version that finds strength in solitude and clarity in stillness. That version has always existed. You've just been too occupied to meet them. But the silence reintroduces you to who you are, and who you could become if you gave yourself the chance to grow without permission, without approval, without limits. Most people never reach this level of focus because they're addicted to distraction. They're addicted to being seen, to being liked, to being understood. But chasing that kind of attention comes at a cost. It steals your peace. It steals your time. It steals your focus from the one person who actually needs it, you. Focusing on yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. Because if you don't put your energy into you, someone else will use it for their own purpose. And you'll wake up years from now wondering where your life went. That's why silence is so important. It's not just quiet, it's protection. It's how you shield your vision while it's still growing. It's how you protect your mindset while it's still strengthening. And it's how you respect your boundaries before the world tries to break them. You don't need to explain your silence. You don't need to defend your distance. You are allowed to pull back so you can rise up. You are allowed to say no without guilt. You are allowed to choose yourself without apology. There is a quiet confidence that comes when you no longer react to everything. When you stop justifying your decisions. When you stop needing to be understood by people who don't even understand themselves. That kind of confidence is earned in the silence. It's forged in the moments no one sees. When you keep showing up, keep improving, keep going. Not for recognition, but because you refuse to stay the same. That's what makes you different. That's what makes you dangerous. Not your volume, but your vision. Keep your goals to yourself. Keep your growth to yourself. Let your silence be your strategy. Let your actions be your response. You don't have to speak loudly to make a statement. Your discipline will speak for you. Your transformation will speak for you. Your silence will echo louder than anything you could ever say. Focus on yourself. Stay silent. Let your evolution be the only noise you need. The fastest way to lose yourself is to keep giving pieces of your energy to places that don't feed your purpose. Every moment you spend trying to explain your growth to people who aren't growing is a moment taken from your own evolution. Every conversation you entertain that doesn't align with your vision delays the future you're building. And every time you break your focus to answer doubt, you weaken the momentum you fought so hard to build. This is why silence is not just a mindset, it's a boundary. A boundary that protects your time, your peace, your progress. You weren't meant to stay available to everything. You were meant to go deeper within, to get serious about your life, to stop waiting for the right time and become the right person now. That level of transformation demands your full attention. It demands stillness. It demands a commitment to rise above distraction, not because you're better than anyone, but because you refuse to stay where you are. That's the truth no one talks about. Change doesn't happen when you're visible. It happens when you're silent, when you step away from the noise and get brutally honest about the work that still needs to be done. This is the season to stop broadcasting your intentions and start honoring them. You don't need the world to believe in your journey. You need to believe in it so deeply that no one's doubt can interrupt it. Because belief, when rooted in silence, becomes unshakable. It becomes the kind of belief that doesn't need external proof, because it's already written on the inside. It lives in your habits. It breathes in your discipline. It shows up in the way you protect your focus like your life depends on it, because it does. Nothing changes until you do. Nothing moves until you move. And that movement must begin in silence, in discipline, in repetition, not loud, not showy, not public, just real, just you, doing what needs to be done, day after day, without recognition, without praise. That's where the transformation becomes permanent. Not because people noticed, but because you did. You noticed the shift in your energy. You felt the strength in your boundaries. You saw the fire in your own eyes, and you didn't need a single person to validate it. Let people wonder where you went. Let them question your silence. That confusion is your power. Because while they talk, you build. While they guess, you grow. And while they wait for an explanation, you keep elevating without saying a word. That's how you reclaim your life. By focusing so deeply on your purpose that the rest fades into background noise. Silence is your reset. Silence is your power. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. The wisdom to know what deserves your energy and what doesn't. The wisdom to stay grounded when the world pulls you in every direction. Stay committed, stay focused, stay silent. The version of you you've been waiting for is already inside. waiting for your full attention. The deepest breakthroughs don't come from noise, they come from silence. Not the kind that's empty, but the kind that's intentional. The kind that creates space for truth to rise and excuses to fall. Most people never find that space because they're afraid of what they might hear, afraid of the thoughts they've buried, afraid of confronting the parts of themselves they've spent years avoiding. But growth doesn't happen when you feel ready. It happens when you face yourself completely. And that facing begins when you stop talking and start listening. To the quiet, to the stillness, to the voice you've silenced for too long. That voice doesn't lie. It doesn't flatter you. It doesn't feed your comfort. It reveals what's real. It shows you where you've been lazy with your potential, where you've been lowering your standards to keep temporary people in your life, where you've been tolerating patterns that have no place in your future. And when you finally listen, when you stop drowning that voice in distraction, it shows you what's possible. It shows you who you could become if you stopped giving energy to everything that pulls you away from your highest self. It's easy to blame the world, easy to blame time, people, circumstances, but that's just noise dressed as logic. The truth is, the only thing standing between who you are and who you're meant to be is your focus. And until that focus becomes sacred, your life will stay on repeat. Silence helps you break that cycle. It brings your attention back to what matters, not to who left, not to what's trending, not to the past. It brings it back to you. And when all of your power returns to you, everything changes. You stop reacting. You stop explaining. You stop reaching for people who never showed up for you. Because now you understand, your energy is not free. Your time is not up for debate. Your growth is not open for discussion. And you are no longer available for anything that weakens your momentum. That clarity makes you lethal, not in aggression, but in intention. Because now, every step is aligned. Every decision is calculated. Every movement is designed to elevate. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to announce your progress. You just need to keep going. The real ones don't speak, they become. And becoming is quiet. Becoming is disciplined. Becoming is a process of subtraction, of cutting away what no longer fits, of removing what blocks your light. Silence speeds that process. It removes the clutter. It sharpens your path, and it teaches you the difference between noise and necessity. This is how you rise, without applause, without permission, without distraction. You rise in silence, and your results do the talking. Keep your circle small. Keep your focus sharp. Keep your peace sacred. Let the world wonder what you're doing. Let them ask why you disappeared. Let them speculate. But you, stay locked in. Stay committed. Stay silent. Your evolution is happening, and it doesn't need to be loud to be legendary. The more you silence the noise outside, the louder your inner strength becomes. Not because it suddenly appears, but because it was always there. Buried beneath distractions, hidden under the weight of what others think, clouded by the pressure to be everything for everyone. You don't need more validation. You don't need more approval. You need more stillness, more moments where you stop performing and start aligning. More space between impulse and action. That space is where power is built. That space is where clarity lives. Every time you step away from what drains you, you create room for what builds you. You start to notice the patterns you once ignored, the habits that sabotage you, the choices that hold you back. That awareness hurts, but it also frees you, because you can't change what you don't see, and silence makes you see. It shows you the truth about your discipline, your mindset, your priorities. It shows you how often you've traded growth for comfort, potential for validation, purpose for popularity. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that moment of truth is where transformation begins. This is why silence isn't empty. It's full of answers. Answers that don't come when you're busy trying to explain yourself. Answers that don't come when you're caught up in who's watching. They come when you detach from noise and reconnect with self. And when that connection deepens, so does your power. You start walking differently, thinking differently, choosing differently. Not because anyone told you to, but because your soul knows what you need. And for the first time, you're actually listening. Let the world misunderstand you. Let them question your silence. Let them assume that's not your problem to solve. Your responsibility is your peace, your focus, your direction. You weren't created to be understood by everyone. You were created to fulfill something greater than opinions. And the moment you stop trying to be liked, you start becoming limitless. Because now you're not moving for applause, you're moving for alignment. Silence breaks the addiction to noise. It breaks the dependency on constant input, constant reaction, constant approval. It replaces it with something unshakable, inner control. The ability to sit with yourself, hear your own voice, and trust it more than the voices around you. That strength most never build, because they never stop long enough to develop it. But you're not here to live distracted. You're here to live aware, awake, alive. The world doesn't need another loud voice. It needs focused minds, disciplined spirits, quiet leaders who don't just speak change but embody it. Let your silence shape you. Let it rebuild you. Let it separate you from everything that made you doubt yourself. You're not falling behind. You're falling into alignment. Every second you stay silent, every moment you stay focused, you are rising. Not for attention, not for applause, but for yourself. Stay silent. Stay grounded. Your evolution is speaking. Let it speak louder than any noise ever could. Most people never realize how powerful they are because they never give themselves enough silence to uncover it. They wait for someone else to tell them who they are, what they're worth, what they can become. But identity is not something handed to you. It's something you extract from the depths of your own being. And that excavation only happens in stillness. When you shut off the noise and sit with nothing but your thoughts, the truth starts to surface. At first it's uncomfortable. It feels like too much. But that discomfort is a sign you're finally meeting the parts of yourself you've ignored for too long. This is where real transformation starts. Not in a moment of inspiration, but in a moment of raw confrontation, where you look at your habits, your excuses, your patterns, and you stop lying to yourself. You stop pretending you're doing your best when you're not. You stop justifying mediocrity as self-care. You stop calling fear being realistic, and instead you start owning it. All of it, the good, the bad, the untapped. You own your power, your discipline, your direction. That level of ownership can only be built in silence, because when you're quiet, you can't run. You can't distract yourself with fake progress. You're forced to look in the mirror and decide if the person you see is who you're willing to keep being. Most aren't. Most feel that tension and run straight back into distraction. They scroll, they complain, they talk about what they'll do one day. But that one day never comes. Because change doesn't wait. Growth doesn't pause. And neither should you. You don't need more time. You need more focus. You need to stop outsourcing your power to opinions, trends, and temporary emotions. You need to stop explaining your hunger to people who are full on comfort. Let them stay where they are. You've got work to do. This journey isn't about being louder. It's about being more precise, more intentional, more aligned with the version of you that refuses to be average. That version doesn't beg. It doesn't chase. It doesn't broadcast every move. It sharpens. It builds. It moves in silence, not out of fear, but out of focus. Because when you truly know what you're becoming, you don't have to talk about it. You just become it. The more you honor the silence, the more clarity you gain. The more peace you create, the more momentum you build. And that momentum will carry you through the days when motivation disappears. That's when you realize this isn't about hype. It's about commitment. And the deepest commitment you'll ever make is to yourself, to your standards, to your future. So stay silent, stay focused. Let the results reveal what the noise never could. Let your actions echo louder than any words ever will. You're not here to be seen. You're here to become undeniable. Keep going, keep building, keep choosing silence over noise. It's in that silence that greatness is born. There comes a point where silence becomes more than a strategy. It becomes a way of life, a way of thinking, a way of protecting everything sacred within you. Not because you're hiding, but because you're healing. Because you finally understand that your energy is currency, and you've spent too much of it on people who couldn't see your value. You've given too many explanations, too many justifications, too many parts of yourself to those who never earned them. Now, you've learned. And now, you preserve your peace like your life depends on it. Because it does. Focus is power. But not just the kind of focus that gets things done. The kind of focus that filters, that separates what feeds your fire from what drains it. That teaches you how to walk away without guilt. That teaches you how to detach with strength, not bitterness. You stop proving yourself to people who don't matter. You stop shrinking to fit into spaces that can't hold your vision. You stop explaining your silence to people who mistake it for weakness. Silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. And when your mind becomes quiet, your purpose becomes loud. There's a different kind of strength that comes from silence, the strength to let go, not just of people, but of identities, of the version of yourself that tolerated less, that accepted distractions as normal, that doubted your own potential. You release all of that, not with noise, not with announcements, but with quiet decisions that no one sees. You change your habits, you adjust your standards, you hold yourself accountable, not because anyone is watching, but because you are. You're watching. And that awareness is what changes everything. You don't need to respond to every challenge with words. Sometimes your growth is the loudest response. Your evolution speaks volumes. The discipline you're building in silence will echo through every room you walk into. It will change how people see you, not because you demanded respect, but because you became undeniable. You outgrew the need for attention. You started doing the work when no one was clapping. That's where the real transformation happens. In the unseen, in the unspoken, in the moments where you choose peace over proving, progress over popularity. You're not missing out. You're leveling up. And that level up doesn't require noise. It requires focus so sharp that it cuts through every excuse. It requires belief so strong that it drowns out every doubt. It requires silence so deep that nothing external can shake your internal world. That kind of power can't be faked. It's earned, and you're earning it right now. Every time you choose growth over gossip, solitude over drama, discipline over distraction, you don't need to be loud to be powerful. You need to be clear. And clarity is born in silence. Keep building. Keep rising. Let them wonder. Let them talk. You're not here for attention. You're here for impact. Stay silent. Stay focused. The world will hear you when it's time. The most powerful shift you will ever experience happens the moment you stop chasing validation. The second you stop needing applause, recognition, or reassurance to feel worthy, you become unstoppable. Because now, you're not performing for anyone. You're not building your life around approval. You're building it around purpose. And purpose doesn't beg to be seen. It doesn't ask for attention. It quietly demands consistency, integrity, and self-respect. That's where your strength is. Not in how loud you can be, but in how unshakable you are when no one is watching. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean shutting the world out. It means tuning the world out so you can finally hear your own voice again. The voice you silenced to keep others comfortable. The voice you ignored to meet expectations that were never yours. The voice that kept whispering who you were, even when you pretended not to listen. That voice has always known the way. But to follow it, you need silence. You need space. You need distance from the noise that confuses you, distracts you, and dilutes your truth. That's why you stay quiet. Not because you're unsure, but because you're finally sure of who you are becoming. You're not isolating yourself. You're refining yourself. You're not lost. You're just in the process of shedding everything that isn't real. And that's never comfortable. Growth will always feel like loneliness at first, because in order to rise, you have to leave behind what kept you small. People, habits, thoughts, patterns, all of it. You can't take everything with you. And the sooner you accept that, the lighter you become. You let go of the need to be understood, the need to be liked, the need to be seen, because you're not living for validation anymore. You're living for alignment. The more silent you become, the more energy you reclaim. Energy you used to waste explaining yourself, defending yourself, trying to fix things that were never your responsibility. That energy now belongs to your growth, to your healing, to your future. Every day you stay focused, you're breaking cycles, you're rewriting stories. You're proving to yourself that you never needed anything outside of you to become whole. You just needed space to reconnect. And now you have that space. Not because the world gave it to you, but because you created it. You claimed it. You chose it. Let others wonder why you disappeared. Let them question your silence. You owe no one an explanation for putting yourself first. What you owe is honesty to yourself, loyalty to your growth, commitment to your path, and that requires sacrifice. That requires discipline. That requires silence. Because in silence, you learn how to listen. In focus, you learn how to act. And in solitude, you remember what really matters. Keep going. Keep growing. Don't break your silence for anything that doesn't build you. You're not missing out. You're rising up. And when the time is right, your results will speak louder than your words ever could. Silence is not weakness. It is preparation. It is the sacred space where your inner power sharpens, where your thoughts become clear, your decisions become precise, and your direction becomes certain. In a world obsessed with noise, those who master silence hold a different kind of strength. They don't need to announce their every move. They don't crave permission to evolve. They don't seek attention because their energy speaks for them. The progress is silent, but their results echo with undeniable force. You become one of them the moment you stop explaining yourself and start executing. Every second you spend focused on your own growth builds a foundation no one can take from you. You become less reactive, more intentional. You stop being swayed by opinions that used to shake you. You begin to realize how much peace you were trading away just to be accepted by people who didn't even understand your vision. That clarity hits hard, and when it does, you feel something inside you shift. You stop running in circles. You stop engaging in distractions. You stop giving your energy to anything that doesn't elevate your purpose. That's not selfish. That's survival. That's how you protect the person you're becoming. The world will always try to pull you in 100 directions. But not all movement is progress. Not all attention is worth having. And not all advice comes from a place of wisdom. This is why silence matters. Because when you stop talking, you start listening. Really listening. Not to the world, but to yourself. That's where your truth lives. Not in the noise, but in the stillness. The more you listen to that inner voice, the more unshakable you become. The more your energy becomes centered, grounded, immovable. You are no longer desperate to be seen. You are determined to become. There is a certain discipline required to stay quiet when your ego wants to speak, to stay focused when distractions come disguised as opportunities, to keep building in silence when the world questions your worth. But it is that very discipline that separates the dreamers from the doers, the talkers from the builders, the followers from the leaders. If you want to lead your life with power, lead it with focus. If you want to gain respect, start with self-respect. If you want lasting success, build it where no one's watching. That's where the real work happens. Not in the spotlight, in the shadows, in the silence, in the grind no one claps for. Your silence is not absence, it's alignment. Your focus is not isolation, it's transformation. You are not falling behind, you are rising above. Keep showing up for yourself even when no one sees you. Keep moving in purpose even when no one applauds. Because one day, the silence you kept will become the storm that shakes everything. Not because you said something, but because you became someone. Let your growth speak, let your focus build, and let your silence lead. Not everyone will understand your silence,